How long do worms live? How cold can my basement be to keep those worms? And why would a business like mine need to mess around with the YouTube channel? We'll get to that on today's episode of Coffee and Compost. My name is Steve Churchill, and this is the Urban Worm Company. Okay, gang, we're continuing our Coffee and Compost series where I give short, hopefully helpful answers to some fairly simple questions. And as this YouTube channel has grown, so do the amount of questions I get in the YouTube comments. So this is a great venue to answer those questions. So here we go. The first question deals with worm lifespan. A YouTube subscriber wanted to know how long red wigglers and European night crawlers live. I have two answers for this. The first answer is that I don't exactly know. I've seen estimates between 1.5 years up to 4.5 years. An article from Uncle Jim says that between 4 and 8 years is an expected lifespan, and I think that's pretty high. I'd probably say that number is closer to 1.5 years, only because it's the more conservative estimate, but a composting worm in a cozy worm farm that's not subject to predators like birds, moles, and centipedes and whatnot could very well live 4 years or more. My second answer is that worms reproduce so well on their own that it probably doesn't matter what their lifespan is. With enough density, which I think is between 0.5 pound and 1 pound per square foot, and good richness of food, worms are going to reproduce far faster than they'll die, making their lifespan kind of a moot point. And another point on that, worms are excellent self-regulators, and they're going to stop reproducing when they sense that either their population is too dense or their habitat isn't conducive to a larger population. All right, so the second question deals with temperature. This subscriber has a basement with a constant temperature of around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and she wants to know if that's too cold. Now, firstly, I love basements for vermicomposting. They tend to be dark and humid, and they have that pretty constant temperature. But to answer your question, no, 60 degrees is not too cold to do vermicomposting. Red wigglers and European night crawlers both do really well in cooler temperatures like that. African night crawlers, though, they do want temps in the 70s or higher. The longer answer, though, it's not the temperature outside the bin that matters. It's the temperature you can maintain in the vermicompost itself. Look, when we're vermicomposting, we're cultivating life in the form of worms and microbes. Those little organisms generate a good amount of heat on their own. So I'd imagine that a farm surrounded by an ambient air temperature of 60 degrees, which is about 15 degrees Celsius, is actually going to be a few degrees warmer than that. A more extreme example is that I'm in my barn right now and it's freezing. It's 21 degrees outside and it's, 34 degrees inside the barn. But because I'm using a seed starting mat in my worm farms, the temperatures in the vermicompost, especially near the surface, are nowhere close to as cold as that. So bottom line, a basement at 60 degrees is fine, even if you don't use any man-made heat sources like a heat mat. But a basement at 30 degrees can work too, as long as you can hold the temperatures in the vermicompost higher than that. Okay, so the next question, maybe more of a comment, comes from a YouTube commenter who's a little skeptical about why a business like mine would mess around with the YouTube channel. He either thinks it's a waste of time, or maybe he doubts that I actually have a decent business going at all. And he's wrong on both counts. And this one got under my skin a little bit, so thanks for indulging me. Here's the thing. And this is one of the things that I tell the folks in my business course. A customer who has never heard of your brand needs to see your brand an average of 7 times before they make an online purchase. These people don't know you and they need to see you in multiple different places, multiple different times. And since YouTube is the second largest search engine, putting helpful content on this platform lets me reach an audience that might not otherwise ever heard of Urban Worm. So this helps me get some of those interactions with you all. Now, most of you are never going to buy anything from me, and that's perfectly fine. Take as much free content as you want. Skip the ads as far as I'm concerned. You can watch 75 of my videos without buying anything. Great. I hope it helped. But a small number of you are going to want to buy something someday. Maybe today, maybe 2 years from now, maybe 10 years from now. By having a YouTube channel that answers questions and delivers helpful information without requiring anything in return, maybe that builds a little bit of trust and maybe you'll become one of my customers in the future. All right, that's it. We're going to answer some more questions next week.